Hello everyone, welcome to One for the Weekend with me, James Alcott, married man. Yeah, I'm back. You know, it wasn't a long honeymoon, I'm back, don't worry. Flav has gone on his own honeymoon for 1 week only. Nice. Hasn't really, he's just not here today. But the return of the Mac, Iain Macintosh,
I'm happy
is
to be
here,
here.
mate. FanLeague brand ambassador,
Yes,
should be happy about.
absolutely. I should say Flabs texted me earlier. Apparently I've got to slag off Arsenal for some 20 minutes.
So, yeah, that's sort of, I've got that in here, that's in the middle bit.
So we got our levels up.
Yeah, we're fine.
Contract thing.
How have you been finding FanLeague and all that stuff? For anyone who doesn't know, FanLeague is an app where you got to predict 13 English football games, Premier League and Championship. And myself and you, I find it really odd. Like you're a prestigious journalist. We've got Sven-Goran Eriksson on it. So like cool people. Then there's me. And then there's
a man with a horse's head.
The gaffer, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're the pundits trying to kind of show some kind of knowledge of what we're doing. I've not done great. You've done okay, haven't you? You've had a couple of good weeks.
It's been all right. I'd feel a lot of pressure when that tweet comes through on a Sunday evening. Like, rounding up the scores. I'm like, okay, let's have a look. No, it's been all right. I haven't got more than 10 out of 13. Which when you consider that we get 7 hedges as well.
Yeah.
You know,
so
10.
half hedges is where you can basically... You've got to predict who the winner or the loser is, or if it's going to be a draw. But you can have a second go, can't you?
Yeah.
And that's a half hedge, and we're given 7 each.
Which means really you should be getting
doing
7.
Yeah.
The problem is you use the hedges on the games that you're not that sure about. Whereas I think if you use them on the games you really are sure about, then you'd basically be fireproof for 7.
Yeah. Oh, right, I see what you mean.
So if you said like Man United, Crystal Palace, well, obviously home win. Just in case, take it for a draw, you'd always guarantee yourself 7.
So my best is 11 out of 13, which I'm pleased with. However, my average, because there's so many stats on the app, it's really cool. But that kind of ruins it for me, because if it was just like PB, then I look strong. Do you know what I mean?
Would, yeah.
But my average is definitely lower than yours.
I think I've got 10 3 times now, so I would win money, but not as much money as I would for 11.
Of course.
Yeah.
So just to say that we have a One for the Weekend league which you can be involved in. Ian's not in it yet, but I'm going to invite him. We were chatting about that before. So Ian's going to be in the league as well, so you can take us on. First 100 people that want to be invited can be. All you got to do is add me as a friend on the app, James Alcott, 2 L's 2 T's, and I will invite you to the league, so you can do that. Just say that the app as well. So, I mean, quite cool about it. I don't think we've mentioned it yet. Is that it's 10% of the revenue that FanLeague get for it they put back into grassroots football, which I think is quite a nice thing that you don't really expect to see in something like this. So that's another reason for getting involved. And then one last thing, the FanLeague competition, you can win £1,000 if you invite 2 people to the app and like the Facebook page. So yeah, that's the admin out of the way. We're going to be talking about loads of great stuff. No Flav, I'm afraid, but we do have Soldiers Lost in Battle. I've got music for that, and I've also got new music which I was playing to Ian with my Universal Football Truths. So if you are watching on YouTube, thank you very much, and subscribe to the Ball Street channel because we're here every single week. If not, don't worry. The podcast is on iTunes. Again, just search One for the Weekend and you can listen to it there. But what I want to know is people's universal footballing truths. So we're going to go through a few of those, through some of the saddest stories in football that I have found, as there wasn't many soldiers lost in battle in the comments last week. So if you've got a really sad football story, let us know that as well. And we're also going to talk about a sort of a smorgasbord.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you. Of international football, broad strokes, because there's games going on tonight. We don't know exactly the scores, but the situation in international football, but then the situation of the Premier League as well, and the fact that Premier League clubs have decided to not allow the top 6 to have a little bit more money. I can imagine what your view is on that, Ian, but we will get into that. But best place to start, I think, is England. On this channel, I get a lot of stick for being quite optimistic about England. What is your current status when it comes to being an England fan? Are you an England fan?
It's complicated. No, I'm not really an England fan. I used to be. I was talking to someone else the other day about Euro 96 and how amazing that was and what it meant to be English in the summer of 96 with so much that was going on in the country and amazing weather, and I was 18 and I could get served in pubs.
Lovely.
Talk to girls about wetting myself, that kind of thing. It was an amazing time to be alive. And I haven't felt like that about England for a long time. I think 2004 was the last time that I was really into it. But I think, in a way, that's a good thing, because I started being a football journalist in 2006, and I think it's good to be kind of away from it. So you're not. I think it's best to be objective. What do you mean by away?
Oh, right, I see.
Yeah, it's best to be objective. Otherwise, you become a bit of a fanboy, and I don't think people want that. If they're paying for analysis, or even just clicking for free analysis and reporting, I think they want it from someone who isn't emotionally involved.
As a journalist, that's an interesting question for me to know, is how well are you able to keep bias out of your writing? Have you ever found moments where you've read back pieces and gone, I should have kept my mouth shut there?
When I first started, I was quite bad at it, because everyone has their hates, their likes and their dislikes, and they come with you. I'm quite fortunate because I'm a Southend fan, so very little crossover. Generally, I know I've got kind of the same things. Like, the year before I started working at Bull Street, QPR in the Premier League, but since then we're kind of not on anyone's radar, so it's quite nice to get away from it. People accuse me of being a Manchester United fan. It's like I have no connection with that whatsoever. So that helps. Some people are very good at it. Some people can support their team and still write about football, and never the twain should meet. But I prefer doing it from this way. I haven't got a dog in the fight, and I think it makes it a little easier in some ways.
Who are a few of your favourites? If Saturday or Sunday morning, you get the newspapers, who do you like to, if you see an article by them, you're like, yes, definitely.
Anything by Rory Smith in the New York Times is fantastic. Danny Taylor's column on a Sunday in the Observer is fantastic. Loads of it. I particularly like the specialists, because even when you're literally paid to watch football for a living, there's so much football that you can't watch everything. So James Horncastle for Italy, Rafa Honigstein for Germany, Julien Laurent for France, the European writers, they're the ones I really enjoy as well, because you only have a certain amount of time, so you want to take something from everything you read, you want to learn something from everything you read.
And how often do you boys get in a room and obviously you've got the podcast,
yeah,
but otherwise do you get to sort of pick their brains a lot, or do you?
Yeah, quite a lot. I mean, the Totally Football Show, which I'm very glad you've mentioned, and I may mention several times before I leave.
The podcast.
Which is always great, where everyone gets together and you share a bit of information. And in a lot of cases, particularly with the guys who do the local newspapers or local radio, you get to a game, you've got 2 or 3 hours before kickoff. So you'll spend a lot of time, going around saying hi to people, finding out what's going on, because in almost all circumstances, there's someone in the room who knows more than me.
Are journalists like just massive gossips?
Oh, they're the worst.
They've got to be right up there.
It's like Mean Girls with laptops. Honestly, really? There are shifting alliances and feuds, backstabbing and backbiting. It's absolutely evil out there.
Really. And I remember like Mike Bassett's England manager, that group of journalists. Who's the guy with the moustache that has followed England around forever? He's on Sky Sports a lot.
Nick Collins. Formerly of Sky Sports now. Right. Yeah, he's a good guy. He's been with the camp for a long, long time. I think when he left Sky, they had a whole presentation and everything for him. He'd been doing
is that a bit like international journalism, that if you get to to report, to be that guy like? Yeah,
I think there's different levels and there's different things that people want to do. I mean, generally being the chief football correspondent, or number one, as it tends to be known as, it's like the key. That's where you want to go.
When did that change?
Yeah,
I want to be known as number one.
You're the number one, and then you get chief sports correspondent, which is even higher, because then you go to things like the Ryder Cup,
nice,
and the Super Bowl and things like that. And in some circles, they are known as the Dukes.
The Dukes,
yeah,
because
that's how high they are in the hierarchy.
Do you aspire to be a Duke one day?
No, God, no.
Your Duke days are over.
I'm lucky enough to be this far.
Really? Okay.
Still getting paid to talk about it. I'm not entirely sure how it's happened.
So England, I'm going to go out there. We've qualified for the World Cup. I mean, that's what should be happening. And if it hasn't happened, then feel free to hammer me in the comments or on Twitter. Going to the World Cup, there's the expectation from a lot of England fans is quite low. We were going through the squad earlier today, and Adam was like, "Wow, that is the worst squad we have in a while." But as we were saying before the podcast started, Portugal won the Euros.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, they had the greatest player in the world, but
Messi.
Well, you know, according
Please
to the current
kill
trophies.
Me. Please don't kill me.
Everyone's so
It's a
scared of that, aren't
joke.
they? Everyone's so scared of that. But they did win it.
Yeah,
So,
and Ronaldo actually wasn't that good. I mean, the game against Hungary, which I was lucky enough to be at, when he'd taken a lot of criticism for missing free kick after free kick, he was brilliant in that. For the rest of the tournament, wasn't really all that. That was a team
injured in
together.
the final, of course, as well.
Absolutely.
So things can happen.
Yeah.
For England to do something, a lot of talk about Harry Kane. What an incredible September he's had. Had an awful August before that. It's funny how people decide now he's amazing. A month ago he wasn't. Is he... People are sort of shaping up that he is the most important player for England. Would you agree with that? And if not, who do you think is going into a World Cup is going to be the most important player for England?
I'd certainly agree that he's the most important, not just in the simple fact that he scores a lot of goals, which is quite crucial, but in the character that he is and the example he shows on the pitch. His performances are, in a weird kind of way, very reminiscent of David Beckham when he was captain. Now, he doesn't tend to shout his mouth off in public, but when he's got the England shirt on, you see him clattering back to the halfway line to win stuff and then getting back forward and winning the ball and knowing where everyone is and spreading the play about, playing selflessly, but also very well in what he does. He's at his best, he's an inspiration. Yeah,
because I think he's gone from... Someone's describing him as Alan Shearer, but actually I think a better description of him, comparison of him is Frank Lampard, who both have a certain amount of quality, but you know that they've put the work in, that they're intelligent, that they're professional, and it's allowed them to improve and become world-class players. And that's what I find really impressive in Kane, and what I can understand in him being, say, captain for England and being one of our most important players, is because, like Beckham, he just does it. He's not hollering.
And like Lampard and like Gary Neville as well. He is a player. I mean, let's not damn him with faint praise. Harry Kane is a very good footballer. He's got a lovely touch, an incredible finish, great awareness. But he is who he is because he's worked so hard and because he continues to work so hard. And hopefully this will continue to be the case. He keeps himself clean and tidy and doesn't have any problems off the field.
I guess the fear is what happened in the Euros is that he seemed drained by the end of the season.
Though in this he was hardly alone.
That is true.
Everyone's bottoms fell out that day, and I was there for that as well. And it was, no one escaped with anything even remotely approaching glory.
True, very true.
And that really is what limits England. To go back to the original question, it's about mentality and it's about strength. Tournaments will be won by the team that wins the tournament because of a set of factors that take place. In 2004, England really should have won the European Championships, but they had Rooney's injury in the quarter-finals coming off so early. They had the penalty shootout, the disallowed goal, the ball, all of that. Things went against them. It's not necessarily the best team or the team with the best player who wins. There's an awful lot of luck and circumstances that comes together. Absolutely. All you can do is have a decent plan, a bit of backup, and a decent enough squad. England, I think, have all of those things. They've got to have it up there.
If you put Kane to one side, who do you next hope will step up and can be that player for England to get us through a game, because he can't do it every single time.
You're probably looking at Dele Alli, who's had a fairly quiet start to the season. Really hasn't exactly shone, and the cheeky finger, I don't think really.
I loved that. I thought it was brilliant.
Really helped anyone.
It was so odd. It's such a great meme as well. I just didn't expect it at all. We did a podcast the next day, and I was like, I love the fact that he's unaware enough to go, we'll do this joke, or I'll pretend that I hate you because you've moved to Man City. Of course it was clearly a joke. For him to get banned for it, which
just imagine in that position, knowing what he knows about being a high-level footballer and having TV cameras everywhere, and he thinks that's going to work.
Yeah,
it was staggering. But he's young, and God knows I did worse things at his age.
One last thing with England is that the squad not being as strong as we would like it to, certainly not as strong as, say, 2004 squad, 2006 squad. Do we need to take a leaf out of the books of the Republic of Ireland, of Scotland, of Wales recently, of getting players who maybe aren't completely ready for the England first team yet, but ensuring that they can be down the line? I'm talking about Wilfried Zaha, who we've missed out on now, and Tammy Abraham, who had a great season in the Championship last year. He's got the pedigree of being coming from Chelsea, and he's going to be playing football this season, and I think will be good enough for England at some stage, but wasn't put in the squad. I know it's important and it's the World Cup and stuff like that, but are we missing a trick there if we don't do that quickly? Because it looks like Nigeria are after him.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I do like about the England football team at the moment is the gradual, not flawless, but gradual move towards running it as a club. And Uruguay were great at this for about the last 15 years under Tabarez, where if there was a gap in the squad, they didn't just go for, let's say they lost a striker, they wouldn't just look at an unheralded 28-year-old Uruguayan who is in a bit of a flash of form. They'd go, all right, let's try the kid from the under-21s or the kid from the under-20s, and they'd throw them in. That's why Sebastian Coates was part of their Copa America winning team in 2011, even though I think he was about 18 or 19 at the time. So I like the idea of that, and I like the idea of not taking everything so seriously as well. The friendlies, you get a bad result in a friendly and everyone goes crackers, and you're like, it's just a friendly. Yeah, we should be using those for experimenting. We should be going, all right, let's have a crack at this back three. Let's try it with Pep's inverted fullbacks, and let's try it with Tammy Abraham coming on for a bit because he did so well in the summer for the under-21s. Or let's throw on Zaha for the last 10 minutes, see if he can change a game.
The problem is the judgment of fans, the media. Yeah. Everyone's ready, and there's this cycle. Like now even now it's like you're getting through to the World Cup, but you're never going to do anything. Yeah. And everyone is ready, aren't they? I mean, look, the Iceland performance was outrageously bad.
Oh, almost heroically.
People bad. You knew people were ready to go. What disappoints me sometimes is like in the bit before, just wash your mind. Let's just go. Just go obliviously, be optimistic again. Why not? An optimistic set of fans would be Northern Ireland with the situation they're in. That must be an enjoyable experience to be a Northern Ireland fan and to go through what they're going through. And generally it goes to the broader thought of football fans just want to exceed expectation, whatever those expectations are.
Do you know what?
It's a nice place to be.
I was in France last year. I think it was Nice for Northern Ireland's first game. And I've never seen as many people having such a good time at the football. And having come from Marseille the night before in England-Russia and all the assorted nastiness that went with it, that being there for that first Northern Ireland game, I think it was Northern Ireland-Poland, they're on the seafront, they got the beers, everyone's in green, singing the songs. Yeah. And of course the Poles, generally, they're football supporters. When it comes to drinking beer, there's very few who get close to them, even from these islands. So you've just got two really happy, friendly groups of fans exchanging beers and stories, exchanging songs. With a Will Griggs song, the Poles were like, "That's great. Now we'll adopt it to ours," and that's where it all started to spread. Yeah. I'd love to be a Northern Ireland fan.
And do you think I read a really good comment in one of our videos a little while ago? It was about, do you think football fans know when they're in a good moment? So, for reason like a Spurs fan right now, you might be thinking, well, no, we're a big club. We're going to continue to do well. We're going to continue to have a great side. You might not. It does ebb and flow. But when you're in the middle of a good bit, it's difficult to know that it is because it is so. It's so quick to go away.
Yeah,
well, they must know that.
We had a stage at Southend when Steve Tilson was manager. We got back-to-back promotions from the 4th division to the 2nd division, and we were playing really good football. And even when we lost, there was a sense that it was like, well, you know what, we've gone out there, played a decent game. Well, it got done by the odd goal. I'm really enjoying this. Yeah. And I think I did realise at the time how much fun it was. Really? I hope so, because now it's. Tends to be miserable.
I get to the point now where I'm like, and this is outrageous, Adam will piss himself. QPR is so mid-table right now.
Oh, God.
So mid-table, it's incredible. But Holloway's got a team that works really, really hard. Very limited, but works really hard. And I'm kind of enjoying that in a weird way because we didn't have that previously. But what I get sad about now, being a bit older, is that Holloway will go one day, and with him he'll take. I know,
like a beloved dog.
Yeah, exactly.
You're 12 now. That's not good.
Yeah, he will get put down, Holloway, sooner or later, and that's like I think about that now when I go to. I'm like, enjoy it because at least you've got a manager who cares at this moment in time. Because sooner or later you might get Paul Hart as your manager,
But it's his little
No,
face
what's
I'd
that?
worry about. Like taking Ian Holloway to the vets.
Oh,
You give him a little chocolate bar. Right, where are we going? I'm having a wonderful time today. Oh, what's that big needle? I feel so sleepy. I'm like, no, Ollie. Jesus Christ, the futility of life.
Oh my god! If Pixar are doing a sort of dog thing, get Ollie on it. That would be amazing. His voice would be perfect. Or you. That was pretty good. That was quite impressive. Wales versus Republic of Ireland on Monday could be just a massive game.
Yeah.
At the moment, Wales are 1 point ahead. They've got Georgia tonight when this comes out. Moldova are playing Republic of Ireland. If Wales win and Ireland don't, then they are through. But what's more likely is that it's going to go to that last game. Going into this, without Bale, Wales don't have Bale. He's out for 4 weeks. Well, I read this, it was interesting, is that he's had 9 calf injuries now. 7 in the same leg. Is this the beginning of, not the beginning of the end, but is he going to have to adapt how he plays? Because he just can't be that explosive because his calves can't handle it.
Well, if he does have to, he's pretty well set for it. I mean, he's already adapted so many times anyway. He was initially a little skinny left back.
Yeah.
And then a left winger and then an all-out kind of everything. He'd probably make a very decent target man. It would be a shame if all of the gifts that he has, that's how he becomes. But
I guess, you're right. At least he's intelligent enough to... And it's going from disgusting pace to probably mediocre pace.
I mean, I could think of worse sort of frontal pivots to blast the ball at and have him bring other people into play.
True. Can Wales... Would you rather be Wales or Ireland in this situation when you haven't got that guy?
I think I'd rather be Wales.
Really?
I've seen Ireland a couple of times and there isn't that kind of... that makes you think great things could be expected. It just hasn't really happened. Feels like the end of a cycle. Yeah. I mean, Wales is the end of a cycle too, because I think Chris Coleman will be off after this one. But yeah, I'd probably be more confident being Welsh right now.
But what a game that will be on Monday night.
What an atmosphere as well. A song. I mean, again, 2 teams that I saw a couple of times each in France, and the atmosphere from their supporters was just incredible.
The Irish in particular. I saw them when I was out there as well. I went from Marseille with the England fans running away from tear bombs to going to Paris, where there was one police car and probably about 10,000 Irish fans at 4 a.m. just took over this strip of Paris, just getting hammered, and no one cared. Because they were just like, they're just the nicest group.
There's a lot of self-policing that goes on with those sets of fans. Northern Ireland as well. The barrier went down. There's a huge queue for the coaches on Nice seafront with the Northern Irish and the Polish fans, and a barrier that was used to kind of snake the queue around fell down, and a couple of fans started jumping over so they could rush for the bus and they didn't have to queue. And this big booming voice just came out like, no, that's how disasters happen. And everyone just sort of stopped and went, yep, fair point. And they actually picked up the fences. People who'd already climbed over sort of sheepishly climbed back. So you get a lot of that.
That's crazy. I can't wait. Next year's going to be great. Well, it may be great, hopefully. I just realised it's in Russia. So Argentina. Wow. Sampaoli, the manager, obviously did so well with Chile. Gone to Argentina. He thought that was going to be great. Incredible squad, but they are 5th in their group. They play Peru at midnight, and even if they can get through that game, they still won't be completely through. If they finish 5th, they go through to a playoff against New Zealand, but they could easily finish 6th. Chile are beneath them. They have to play Ecuador in Quito.
No one wants that.
No one wants that at the end of the qualifying next week.
But they must have looked at that fixture list and saw the Ecuador-Quito game, because obviously the altitude drains you. And they must have thought, oh, thank God we got that last. We'll be long since qualified by then.
But it's amazing that these kind of teams can, with the personnel that they've got, can get themselves in that kind of predicament. It shows how difficult that group is. And there's so many games.
Yeah. It's a difficult group. It's also a very difficult situation for any manager, because you've got we always take for granted the human aspect of running an international team, but most of the players are in Europe, so you've got to fly them across the Atlantic to get them down. They won't see each other very often, and when you're playing the kind of football that Sampaoli wants to play, you need time. You need time so that everyone knows each other's runs, so that everyone can cover each other's positions. And if you don't have that time, then there's so much frailty, so much vulnerability, so many things that can go horribly, horribly wrong. And that appears to be what's happening. There's no fluency there. They're scoring 1 goal a game. They've only scored 16, and that's a team with Messi. Brazil, for their part, have scored 38.
Jesus. And Sampaoli's his philosophy is it's about high intensity, attacking with force, huge amounts of effort. It could be one of those where you think this is a great manager who's going to really get something out of this squad, but actually, sometimes managers suit the type of club and the personnel that can make that club successful. Maybe with Argentina, he's got a problem there where you've got Messi and Dybala, he's apparently not going to play in the same team because they haven't played enough time together. Dybala's got 12 goals this season already. Messi is Messi. I find that slightly strange. You're not just going to go. I would just go. Off you go, lads.
There's a man putting structure above personnel more than anyone else.
But it's fascinating. You can have such a good squad, and maybe even with a great squad and probably a great manager, sometimes there just isn't that fit.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of the reasons, to take it back to England, that I think Southgate might have a chance with the England job, because his best times have been in an international setup with the under-21s. His preference is to work with the players as people, is to develop them as people, and there'll be players in the squad now that he managed at under-21. He'll be watching them closely as they come up through the ranks. International football isn't club football. You can't just bring in new players. You've just got to work with what you got. You've got to be very adaptable. You've got to be very inspirational. And if it does start to go wrong, there's not much you can do. And of course, the biggest problem, if it goes wrong, you have a bad result, you've got to sit there dwelling on it for months sometimes. And
you got a smaller pool of games as well, actually. Because it's done like that, isn't it?
And they the people you're playing have got a smaller pool of games. So when it comes to scouting and trying to figure out what they're doing, they're in the same position, flying 22 players over from Europe, some of whom will be fit, some won't, some will be tired, some won't, some will be moody, some won't. It's incredibly difficult. I think club football is now at a level where it's far better than international football. But international football is probably the harder one. It
would be interesting to see a study on what are the characteristics of a good international team now. Because I think you're right. It's just it's a completely different thing. That's enough of the international stuff. Let's get on to Premier League and clubs voting against the redistribution of overseas TV money. So shall I just let you go?
Oh,
thoughts?
Fuming. Absolutely fuming. What you've got with the Premier League is it's not technically the best league. Well, I think we have to be very, very clear on that. It's not even the best in terms of atmosphere, because I think Germany's great. Everyone's got beers on them and singing. But the Premier League does have something. It has the fact that there are no procession games at all. I think this caught Pep Guardiola by surprise, particularly Burnley related. Burnley gave him a real shock. There are no games where you just think, I'm not even going to watch this, it's going to be 6-0. But Crystal Palace are ruining this point a little bit right now.
But they won't forever, will they? They're going to get better.
It's a tight level. There's a lot of money there, and it's a relatively tight level. The goose is laying golden eggs. It's laying 20 of them every year. When it's laying 20 of them every year, you don't squeeze its arse and try and get even more out. You just accept there's gold. They're going to ruin it. They're going to ruin the product by trying to be greedy and trying to get more. Now, I take the point that they're making. They're saying overseas fans, they're not tuning in for Burnley. They're tuning in for Man United, Manchester City. That's not entirely true. They're tuning in to watch Man United, Man City in a game, in a proper game where it's actually exciting. That's why people watch the Premier League. If you create an even bigger gulf between those clubs, and the gulf, by the way, is absolutely enormous already. It's incredible that anyone even gets close. You make that even worse. You make the product worse, and then people stop watching it.
Yeah, a great example for me is I went to the football with my dad, and then we watched. We went to a bar and we watched Sheffield Wednesday versus Nottingham Forest, and we watched Man United versus Stoke, and it was one of those where there's screens everywhere. I couldn't keep my eyes off the Championship game. Obviously, worse players, but it was because it was end to end. It was fast paced. It was two teams going for it. The other game, you had two banks of four, just trying and just sideways football, because two teams weren't. You don't want to watch a boxing match with one guy's just running around in circles trying to keep away and the other guy's chasing him. You want two guys going at it. And if you the bigger the gulf, the worse of the product. Exactly, I couldn't agree more with you. And the worse of the product, in the long run, you'll lose the money of, you'll lose the money that people want to spend in the Premier League, and what that's just going to lead to is this Super League, isn't it? Because they get fed up with it. Because we're already seeing that in the Champions League. The money's so poorly distributed now that people go like Maribor and Karabag and those teams who could have had a chance like 20 years ago now. What was incredible, the finances last year, Juventus made more money than Real Madrid, who won it. And the year before, Basel got further than Liverpool and made half of what they made. And people forget you've got to retain the integrity of the sport. And to do that, you do need to lift some teams up as opposed to others to allow that to remain. You see that in the NFL. Yeah. So it's naive, in my opinion.
No, the Premier League, always lambasted the Premier League on a number of levels, but they're actually being really cool about this. They're trying to make sure that overseas money gets equally split. Now, there are already ways the bigger clubs make more money. There's the prize money, which is obviously and quite rightly graded so that the higher you finish, the more money you get. I think that's a good thing. There's the domestic rights, which are split another way, one of the ways of which is, on how many games you are on TV for. That's absolutely fine too. Got no problem with that. But this international money is there for the league.
Yeah.
Because the league is good. And they're saying that the fear is if they don't bend over enough to the Big Six will do what happened 25 years ago. They'll vanish off and make their own league. Part of me is like, go on then. Go and see how that works, because you know what will happen. The clubs pushing for it are so used to being in a scenario where they're always going to pretty much finish top or thereabouts. Not one of them has considered the new reality, which will involve a lot of them not finishing anywhere near the top. You start a European Super League now, and I'm only saying for like the sake of argument, but let's say like Manchester United come 15th out of 16, Bayern Munich come 14th out of 16, and then you run that on about 10 years. Because that's someone has to come last, and none of them think it will be them.
Yeah,
I'm so close now to just going, go on, go.
Yeah, and do you know what? The good side of that would be that fans of clubs that I can see us. I couldn't believe it when we got into the Premier League, because I remember us being in Division 2 as it was then, and having 7 players and just getting guys on frees, and you kind of. Your brain could just about dream getting to the Premier League, but now that you can't, you're insane if you think that anyone could do a Leicester again. It's too, and you saw that because as soon as it happened, the year after, those big clubs went, not letting this happen again, and spent outrageous amounts. So I think to a point, I'll be very sad because it might not feel the same. But the bottom line is, sport's about winning things or having the hope of winning things, and so if that brings that back to us a bit, then I wouldn't mind that. I'm
not offended by the greed. I understand greed. It's a part of sport. It's a part of life. That's that's there and that's what it is. What offends me is stupidity. This is a great product and everyone's making money and everyone's winning, and they're trying to screw it up just because they want a bit more in their pocket. That's just stupid. Yeah, I agree. Fingers crossed. So it's only been adjourned for 3 weeks. It's gonna come back with a new offer, I guess. But hopefully it doesn't kind of create a bigger divide in it, because it's not helpful. Kroenke looking to buy Usmanov's shares. This is a story that's kind of come out in the last couple of days. 28 grand per share, I think it was 520 something million for Usmanov's shares. That would give Kroenke 97% of the total shares. What's the best solution that Arsenal fans can hope for in the long run of this whole thing? Because he's not going anywhere, is he? No, but you've got 2 guys there who don't have a working relationship. No, exactly, and they have their own motivations for this. I don't think there is an ideal solution, really, unless Kroenke's planning to shore up his position and then push even harder at making the team successful, but I think there are limitations there straight away. Well, I think there's suggestions from the other clubs that he's owned that he's not too bothered about that. The other organisations and franchises that he owns are mediocre at best. They have awful records. He has a very, very big product and a very, very big league. Not forgetting the money that London attracts. You've got a team in London with 60,000 seats. I was up at Newcastle last weekend. Their match day revenue is a fraction of Arsenal's, even though the crowds are relatively similar, because people pay more in London.
What do you do as a football fan in that situation?
You just have to accept
completely paralysed, aren't you? Really?
It's the economic realities. I think Arsenal make about £3.5 million every time they play a home game. Sunderland, for their part, were making about £12-13 million a season from all of their home games. So Kroenke having a London asset is
useful.
Yeah, you can see why he's considering investing even more.
Interested to know what people thought about that. If you're an Arsenal fan, what you think? What is the resolution? What is an actual realistic resolution where you're happy with it? I think it's a really difficult thing for you guys to go through. But yeah, let us know what you think about that. And last one, because we've got international football, but next week, Liverpool versus Man United.
Yeah.
Two clubs, the two biggest clubs in English football. Incredible history, the two of them. Liverpool fans must be like, you thought Man United were kind of drifting a bit, and then they literally come flying back.
Yeah.
What I wanted to talk about just briefly before we get into universal footballing truths and soldiers lost in battle, and then we'll wrap up, but is Klopp and Mourinho so different as managers, but quite fitting as figureheads of those two clubs. I think. Who do you prefer, and who do you like to write about more?
That's really interesting. I think they're both fascinating characters. In preference, I think Mourinho's the better manager, and Mourinho is doing his Mourinho thing, where I love him for his transfer clarity, where he just sits there in the summer and goes, I need this, this, and this. Go. And then he gets this, this, and this, and he's pretty much reinforced his squad in every possible area. And then he's got the system that he plays, where he will gradually just open up and allow a little bit more creativity, only when the back line is sorted. They are militaristic, and I mean that as a compliment. And they're like a crack outfit. They're all big and strong. They won't be beaten for a fight. We saw away at Southampton.
Yeah,
they won't be beaten in a game when they're under pressure. And what I really like about this team now, last season they didn't look like a Manchester United team. Now, Manchester United are a certain kind of team. They have swagger, they have arrogance, they have nastiness. They are bastards when they're really going well. And what Mourinho seems to have done, possibly as a reaction to the idea that he's a defensive manager, is he's letting them off the leash more. He always had a thing at Chelsea, get 2-0 up, shut it down, kill the game as a spectacle, take the points. But now he's like, keep going, and look at the goals they're getting in the last 10 minutes as they just start to go up through the gears. They're punishing people.
Do you think his greatness is, how much is that down to tactical stuff, and how much is just...
Lots down to tactical stuff.
The way that he carries himself, the mentality that he clearly instills in the team.
He's very good on tactics. He's very good on setting the tone in what he expects from a player. He's got balls like beach balls. He will pick out players and have them removed. I remember at Chelsea with Mutu and the drug issue. Mutu was near on £30 million signing, and he had no compunction in getting rid of him. That sent a message to everybody. He's done it here with Manchester United with Rooney. Record goal scorer.
And you knew he was lying. I felt like he was lying.
I think that
he was kind of. I'm not putting it. Don't put it on me. He can go whenever he wants to go because he's a legend.
I think gradually the truth will out there. I think that he basically handed Rooney the rope.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I'm going to play you here, I'm going to play you here, I'm going to play you here, I'm going to play you here. And then it's not a question of me booting you out, it's a question of the whole world seeing that you are not at that level anymore. But Klopp, on the flip side, Klopp is very positive. He's all about attacking football and getting young players in. And this is why the criticism of him and his reign at Liverpool, I can't really get my head around. If I was a Liverpool fan, I'd be like, well, okay, we're not there yet, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
And we're getting to a point where this is the kind of thing I like. And it is frustrating. It's the same old problems at the back and at the front. But their whole attitude, everything that Liverpool stands for under Klopp, I'll be buying into that. I'd really like that.
I agree. And I think it wasn't like a frustration Arsenal fans would have is that it doesn't seem like we're even going for these guys. Liverpool went a bit too ferociously. They went for Van Dijk, and that will happen sooner or later. It seems like he's already making rumblings that we'll see what happens in January. But the ambition is there, the gusto is there. I wonder. That's what I was saying about Mourinho. Do you think the reason he's great is because sometimes he's very cunning and clinical, and quite level, and there can be a kind of attention to that which can work for you. With Klopp, because he is, I remember chatting to Paul from Redmond TV about this. It's like, do you think he'll run out of gas a bit because he is just 100 miles an hour? And I hope he doesn't, because I think it's quite inspirational for someone to keep going and have that energy.
Yeah. And the fundamental difference between the two is Mourinho will make the prospect of defeat as unlikely as possible first, and then he'll concentrate on the winning. Whereas Klopp's like a Labrador in a park, just off.
Yeah.
Ear inside out, tail wagging. Let's win.
Yeah. And for them as well, it just hasn't clicked a lot of the time. They've had a lot of shots. They've dominated every game they've played in.
Yeah.
It just hasn't clicked at times. And I think people just kind of, there's that blanket judgment of, well, did you win the game or did you lose the game?
But then again, these things take time. And even if you go back to Shankly, we were talking earlier, Shankly, of course, took Liverpool out of the second division into the first division. He won the title 2 years later, and then again in '66. But then I think he had 6 or 7 years without winning anything. Teams ebb and flow.
Same with Fergie. He got there in '86. It took him until 92, 93 it took him until 1990 to win the FA Cup, and then obviously it all flowed. But it obviously does take time. And imagine if you didn't have those two managers in English football, it would be a very different climate, and we wouldn't be talking about this game with the same thought as we are. But that would be a great game. I hope it's better than last time.
Oh yeah, last one was not.
That was so bad, so built up, wasn't it? Yeah. Red Monday. This is it.
The worst thing about that was I was working on the Monday night on something else, so I had to tape it, and then I found out the result and how bad a game it was, and I still had to watch it.
Grim. See, people think your job's easy.
I know. They don't realise the sacrifices, James.
Right. It's my new bit. I like new little bits, and this is one. And we'll see if it works or not. Let us know yours, your universal footballing truths. I've written down a few. I'll ask the boys in the office, and I think you've got one as well, haven't you, Ian? But I've got, because it's quite eerie X-Filey stuff. I've gone for eerie X-Filey music, so here it is. It'll slowly reveal itself to you. Right, universal footballing truths. It can be absolutely anything. Let me know yours in the comments below or on Twitter @BallStreet. Here is my first universal footballing truth given by Rory from CFC Fan TV. Referees are wankers. Not pricks, not dirbrains. Only wankers. Only wankers. Sometimes the C one, but we won't say that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Overall, referees are wankers. Okay. Ex-players will score against your club.
The immutable law of the X.
It's a universal footballing truth. Over 50% of all corners will result in a stadium groan.
I think that number's higher.
I think it might be as well.
Yeah.
Next week, maybe. I'll bump it up. Should it be higher or not? Let me know. There will always be someone within a 5-seat radius who knows more than the manager.
Nice. There's always someone at Southend in a 5-seat radius who sounds like Ken Livingstone. Oh, come on, Southend. Like that.
Ken Livingstone. Wow. 9 out of 10 chants are to the tune Sloop John B.
I think all chants are Sloop John B. I don't think there are any other now.
I didn't know what Sloop John B was. Someone told me that. But there is. It's da 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 da. Come on, guys. We're going to be better than this.
It's the Phil Brown tune.
But it is a universal
Another one.
Truth. Final one. That's all I've got.
Any free kick that takes longer than 45 seconds to assemble will be driven into the wall.
That's so
every
true.
time. Every time.
I love that bit came in just then. So that's this week's universal footballing truths. Let us know yours in the comments, and we'll read them out next week. Speaking of which, soldiers lost in battle. Kind of a good thing and a bad thing. Not many soldiers lost in battle actually last week, which is, it was good. It's less sad stories. For those of you who don't know, soldiers lost in battle is when we go through some of the saddest stories in football. Don't worry though, I've done my work and I've found some of the just really difficult stories to go through, and because people need to know these stories, we need to share them, we need to communicate them so that we can move on from them. So here are some of the saddest stories that I've collated on football. Okay. This first one is with regard to Luis Suarez in the summer of 2014. This is his excuse for being sent off against Italy. He had a strong pain in my teeth. I lost my balance making my body unstable and falling on top of my opponent, said Luis Suarez in his submission to the FIFA panel when he plunged his teeth into Giorgio Chiellini's shoulder. At that moment, I hit my face against the player, leaving a small bruise on my cheek and a strong pain in my teeth.
So was misrepresented.
It's not fair, is it? Poor Newcastle United in January 1998 when they played Stevenage and they lost 3-1 because, according to Kenny Dalglish, the balls were too bouncy. Just 2 years ago, Yaya Toure decided he wanted out of Man City because the club didn't wish him happy birthday. Not only that, they didn't give him a birthday cake.
Treat humans like animals.
His player's agent said what happened at his birthday meant the club don't care about him. Correct. It was proof. They can say whatever they want. Oh, we like him, but we forgot. None of them shook his hand on his birthday. It's really sick.
It is sick. In this world right now.
Current climate.
That is sick.
That is sick.
I bet they had a card as well, and it was just signatures. There weren't messages.
Yeah.
Just like when you're like, oh, I can't be bothered to write anything.
In 1996, this might not work. In 1996, Man United were trailing 3-0 to an average Southampton side at half-time, Premier League. The reason why? The players were wearing a grey strip, so they couldn't. They were finding it difficult to pick each other out, according to Alex Ferguson. So they had to change the strip.
And what kit were they wearing the other night in Russia?
Grey.
Grey.
They lost 3-1. Didn't make much of a difference.
People don't learn.
Poor Liverpool in the FA Cup final defeat to Arsenal in 1971. The reason they lost was because the wool shirts were too heavy.
Yeah, that can happen.
That can happen. Oh, and last one, because I quite like this one. Oh, too far. Hang on.
Oh.
Oh, forget it. Last one was poor Mohamed Al Fayed. His Fulham side were relegated to the Championship, and the reason for that was because the lucky statue of pop star Michael Jackson was removed by Shahid Khan from outside the ground. The statue was a charm, said Al Fayed, and we removed the luck from the club, and now we have to pay the price.
Extraordinary that they were promoted to the Premier League and held their own there for some time without the statue.
Then, exactly. It wasn't their first season, was it?
No.
Very good point. Some of the saddest stories in football that I could find. It's important to share. This is what this one for the weekend's about us getting together, coming together, and communicating.
Strength for unity.
That's exactly what a podcast is.
Yeah.
And that's it. Ian.
It's been a pleasure.
Mate, it's always good to have you here, have a sit down, have a chat. This is a great podcast which people should subscribe to on iTunes, on YouTube, but there's another podcast.
Well, in fact, there are two. There's
wow.
Totally Football Show. You can have a listen to that. You can subscribe on iTunes. It's hosted by James Richardson. It's really, really good. But there's also, if, like me and James, you support a crap team, there's a Totally Football League show as well, which I present. That's on a Tuesdays. So have a look for both of them. Give us a try, and maybe you'll like it.
That's it. We are both on the FanLeague app. We do our picks every week, so you can utilise our wisdom. Apparently your championship picks have been good because of your research for the podcast.
Absolutely, I'm having a lot more luck there.
And if you want to be in the league with us, me, Flav, DT's in the league, Jamel15 I think is in the league, Ian's going to be in the league as well. 100 places for that. Get involved, and we'll start looking at the leaderboard soon because people are starting to get their average. You get some really good stats on it. So get involved with FanLeague, and you could also win that £1,000 if you get two people to download the app and you like the Facebook page. So go and do that now. Go get the app because it's good fun. We're going to be doing this all season, so come along for the ride. That's it for this week. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you next week. I think we've got Statman Dave bringing all the stats that you need for the United versus Liverpool game. And yeah, thanks again.
Cool.
See you next time.
Thank you.